Scott, so great to see you. Chris, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing. I kind of have a question and then a thought that I'm curious on your feedback for. In terms of asking, I feel like for me, I'm definitely more of a giver than an asker. And I'm curious for you, how do you navigate that kind of harmony of knowing when to ask? And it's like how do you figure out the navigation between giving and then asking? Because I feel like for me, sometimes I give too much and then I don't ask early enough. And I would love to know your thoughts.
So, first of all, you've got to bring context into it in that we have asking seasons of our life and we have giving seasons of our life. I'm a big believer that most of our life should be giving and reaching backwards versus forward. I truly believe that. And if someone was just laid off or something, right? It's like, all right, they're in an asking season. Like, go and help that person. Or if you're in that, go ahead and ask. Like, redeem your bank of asks. But have you ever seen Braveheart, the movie?
Yeah, with Mel Gibson.
Okay, or the scene out of Braveheart where it's Mel Gibson. I say you've got to save your asks like Braveheart. Where in Mel Gibson, I don't even remember, he gives that awesome rally cry. And then everyone is behind that berm, and you've got this oncoming army that's like 3 times the size. And everyone's got this stake that they're ready to put up there. And he's saying, hold, hold, until the last second. He goes, now. And then they take up the stake and they end up clobbering this other army. And that's the metaphor that I use for our asks. And ask for anyone, right? Especially for these longer sales cycles, is that you've got to take it to a point where it doesn't even feel like an ask, that you have that connection with that person, that it's like, oh, like, here's some of the things that you're struggling with. Like for me, it's a keynote, right? Let me come in and get your team super fired up because you're losing all your employees. Does that sound good? And they're like, hell yeah, right? So you reposition once again that ask, understanding the context that you've been able to uncover through that courtship, and then it ends up happening. But I would gather for you, you're much like me, you've got to go in with that ask a little bit sooner. And I think that's one of the other pieces that's so counterintuitive, is that 97% of people want to help people, right? And so when you mask that ask in your own mission and dream, and it's authentic to it, you're going to have almost 100% success rate, right? And so that is, I think, where the magic starts to happen. One of the things I talk about also, like in the courtship with these people, like take a walk with them. It's experiences are so much better than like a dinner or even like a sports game, right? To a ticket to a game, right? Like create more of those experiences, or create a podcast, interview someone for your podcast, share this awesome 30-minute chat together. And then you're like, oh man, that was so awesome. What is it that you do? I just kind of want to work with you, right? So I would encourage those.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then the quick thought that I had is I kind of have a different approach when it comes to pitch slapping, and I'm kind of surprised more people don't. Like for me, I don't get upset when people pitch slap. I get excited because the first question that I always ask them is, how is that working for you? And I'm curious, like, why do you think people get upset instead of not turning that into opportunity? Because I feel like when people pitch slap, it's because they kind of, in a way, don't know what they're doing and they're kind of looking for direction, but people tend to let their emotions kind of take over. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, on your thoughts on that.
So I think that especially with AI, right, and automation and software, they're making so much money with the conversion of that 1% that it's not worth their time, right? And so what I do in those situations, and maybe it's kind of obnoxious, is I send them a link to my Audible, and I say, hey, I wrote a book about pitch slapping and ask holes, and I think you'd actually really benefit from reading it. And it's amazing, right? Because people just don't do their research. I think AI is making it even harder to determine, but like you still can't fake this, right? And so most people just don't want to hear it, right? And I just move on to the next. And there's maybe if they hear it from enough people, they'll start changing their tactics. But I mean, it's their loss because they're just not going to be able to get in touch with you. So I say keep going, and then maybe you can help me make a quarter off my royalties with my book. Send them a link to my book.
Down. Thank you.
If you saw me squinting before, it was because Chuck Patterson had smiled, and it temporarily blinded me, Chuck. So I apologize for that.
What's up, Chuck?
You guys got to go surfing someday, Chuck.
Chuck, come to. You've been to Surf Ranch, right?
Yeah, I went there with Kai for like just one little session at the beginning, but I'm not as lucky as you guys.
Oh well, we're just come on one of my trips.
Would love to.
We'll figure that one out. And Kolamona is one of my closest friends. Kai's jet ski guy, Red Bull Hawaii.
That's awesome.
And Raymana. I was actually on I woke up Raymana yesterday with a FaceTime. He's like, "Brother, what's going on? I'm in Tahiti." I'm like, "Sorry, dude. I just wanted to talk to you." But I love it, dude. But yeah, I use Raymana as my intro speech about this move to authentic connection. Because Raymana, guys, here's this dude. He's 50 years old. He's probably like 5'2", probably 200. He's like this little stocky Tahitian dude who was introduced to me by this billionaire dude as the greatest connector of billionaires and A-list celebrities in the world. I'm like, what? Who is this guy? Right? Like, and what he can get anyone up on Kelly Slater's wave. And it's actually through that and almost everyone, he says, "I love you, brother," after you get these epic waves. And I was like, what if we could all be a little bit more like Raymana and less like the pitch slapping assholes? And so I use Raymana as that backbone of my segue into Save Your Asks. So great to meet you, dude.
You too.